Hey, it's May 20th, 2020. Welcome to Square One's first inaugural podcast. My name is Tommy, your host. We're going to be talking about weird things about U.S. presidents. We're going to do it in segments from 1 to 45 in a couple of episodes, starting with the early years. So we're going to start with the first president, George Washington. Everything I thought about George Washington in my research found out to be false. So he had wooden teeth, chopping down a cherry tree. It's all fake news. So I'm going to bring you Tommy, our co-host.
Hi, I'm the co-host, Tommy number 2. He did not actually have wooden teeth. His teeth were made out of everything from real human teeth to ivory. And the whole cherry tree story, as many people know, is not true. It was made up afterwards to show how honest he was. His birthday is cited as being on February 22nd, but they changed the calendar at some point in the middle of his life. They went from the Julian calendar to the Gregorian calendar, which changed his birthday, but he liked that his birthday was 2/22, so he just kept saying his birthday was February 22nd, even though that technically wasn't correct anymore.
Well, how about that? John Adams, the second president, and Thomas Jefferson, the third president, visited the home of William Shakespeare and proceeded to break furniture and keep pieces of it for souvenirs. That's pretty weird. What's also weird about these two is they both died on the same day, July 4th, 1826, the 50th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence.
The thing that's so ironic about the fact that they both died on that day is that they ended up hating each other. So it's just this lifelong rivalry between these two politicians that towered over the revolution, and they end up both dying on this special day.
Another weird thing about Jefferson, who was the third president, he hated public speaking, and he gave only 2 speeches his entire 2 terms, 1 per term.
Yeah, that was his State of the Unions, right?
Yeah, they were. He also ate macaroni and cheese during congressional sessions, and I think some of the other Congress people thought it was
this
gross.
was new. This wasn't a thing that people knew about. Mac and cheese was not a common treat back then the way it is today. So when people saw him eating it, they just thought it was like this weird, kind of gross thing, and then it eventually caught on.
Cool. James Madison was the 4th president of the United States, and he was the smallest or shortest president at 5'4". He weighed around 100 pounds. The other thing about them is him and his wife Dolly, they would serve guests ice cream. They were the first presidents to serve ice cream, and they were really into it. They had some strange ideas for flavors, though. In those days, they had flavors of Parmesan ice cream, asparagus, and chestnut flavored. Dolly's preferred flavor was oyster ice cream.
Delicious.
All right, James Monroe, number 5, ran unopposed for his re-election. That's only happened once before in U.S. history, the first president, George Washington. He's the last surviving founding father, and he died on July 4th, 1831, 5 years after both Jefferson and Adams died, and 55 years after the Declaration of Independence was signed. The other weird thing about Monroe, he has a city in Africa named after him. It's called Monrovia, and it's the capital of Liberia. So we're going to move on now to the next president, the Jefferson-hating second president's son, John Quincy Adams. He was the 6th president. And what's really weird about him is he liked to skinny dip in the Potomac River every morning around 5 o'clock, and that's really interesting, isn't it, Thomas?
Yeah, it's pretty strange, you know. Skinny dipping in the river that marks the capital of our nation as the president of our nation. Everyone's favorite president was Andrew Jackson, of course. He was the 7th president of the United States. He was a very eccentric man. He had a parrot that he had taught to swear, and it swore during his funeral. And everyone joked that it was just like Jackson himself. Andrew Jackson himself was involved in an estimated 100 duels. He was kind of a Chuck Norris of his day.
He got shot in the arm one time, and
yeah, he was shot both in the chest and in the arm.
No, that was a different
duels.
time, I think.
That's what I'm saying. It was different times, but he's taken a lot of damage and just walking away.
I think he put a cigarette butt out in his arm.
I don't know about that one. I'm not sure if that's entirely true. The next president is Martin Van Buren. He was number 8, and people called him Sly Fox. Why was that?
Because he was 2 inches taller than the shortest president. He was also, I think, the first redheaded president, and they called him Old Kinderhook. Or that was his symbol of his campaign, and that's where you get the word "okay" from. And you're welcome for that information. James Henry Harrison was the 9th president. He was from 1841 of March to April 1841, exactly 1 month. He drank booze out of a glass log cabin and had goats and animals running around in the White House. And he gave the longest presidential speech for its time, and it was literally the cause of his death. All right, John Tyler. He was president from 1841 to 1845. He had 15 kids. He was the vice president for 1 month for William Henry Harrison, and then stepped in because he decided he should be president. The next one is James Polk. He was the 11th president from 1845 to 1849. He was an unpopular president because he banned booze, card playing, and dancing at the White House. His nickname was Young Hickory, and he used whiskey as anesthesia for a surgery. Zachary Taylor, number 12. He was president from March 4th, 1849 to July 9th, 1850. He used to keep his horse on the White House lawn. He died.
He died after a brief illness. The bacteria were mostly present in water. There was bacteria present in water-iced milk that Taylor drank, though other sources have claimed that Taylor died of gastroenteritis caused by highly acidic cherries combined with fresh milk. Things were not as healthy as they are today back then. Long and short of it.
That brings us to Millard Fillmore, number 13. Presidential term was 1850 to 1853. He married his teacher, Abigail Powers.
Franklin Pierce was the 14th president. During his presidency, he was arrested for running over a woman with a horse. Charges were later dropped due to a lack of evidence. He took an oath on a law book instead of a Bible. Took an oath on a law book instead of a Bible. His reply to being cast out: "There is nothing left to do but get drunk," might explain his alleged arrest for running over an old lady with his horse.
That brings us to James Buchanan, number 15. Term from 1857 to 1861. He was the first bachelor to be president. Historians argue that he maintained a long relationship with a politician from Alabama, a senator named William Rufus King. The two lived together for more than 10 years, despite being rich enough to have their own homes. Not only were they gay, allegedly, everyone's favorite Andrew Jackson called them Miss Nancy and Aunt Fancy. And that's going to wrap it up for our early presidential. We're going to go with mid-presidential, starting with Abraham Lincoln in episode 2. Thanks for listening.